how's it going? This is Darren Goodman from guitarcontrol.com. We're getting this video lesson. Today I want to go over some tips for beginners and stuff on some of the basic, just fundamental things that a lot of times get overlooked when learning how to play guitar, and some of these things can make things a lot more difficult and stuff. So let's get right into it. So one of the first things is how to hold your guitar. Now, I know a lot of these tips and stuff that I'm going to give you are subject to opinion. So I'm not trying to say that everything I'm saying here is is gospel and stuff. This is just what has worked for me, and in my opinion is better ways to do things. So one of the first things is just with how to hold the guitar. So typically people they put the guitar over on their right leg and they play like this, and this is how I played for a very, very long time. I mean, you always see people playing this way. One of the problems with holding the guitar this way is that you're going to tend to rest your left arm on your leg. So you're gonna rest your arm on your leg like this, and that's not good, because then it's going to inhibit your arm from being able to move. It also puts your right arm, you're extending your arm back, and so it's putting it in a very unnatural position. Now, if you put if you use a strap and you stand up, when you stand up, the guitar is not going to be over like this. It's going to be over this way more. So you want to be able to have the guitar, when you're sitting down, being in kind of the same position as it is when you're standing up. And with that also, you want to, when you use a strap, you see a lot of these guys, it's like really popular, and they have the strap really long so the guitar's hanging way down. Well, that puts your arms, that extends them out, and again it's going to put them in a very unnatural position. And it's going to make it feel way different than it does when you're sitting down practicing. So when I use a strap, when I'm playing standing up, I like to have it so the guitar is at about the same place it is when I'm sitting down. I don't want it really low, and I also don't want it really high. You see some people that they think that this is a chin rest. They have the guitar up really high like that. I like to have it about in this same spot. So when I'm sitting down, I actually put the guitar on my left leg, so that way the bottom bout here is actually between my legs, like how a classical guitarist would sit. When I was a kid, I took classical guitar lessons, and I was required to sit this way, and I hated it. I wanted to sit this way. But then in my studio, I have a chair that has arms on it that I sit in, and it forced me to sit this way. And after a while, I just decided that this is much better, because now you're not going to be resting your arm. You have plenty of movement where you can move around, and it puts your right arm in a more natural position. So I really recommend sitting this way. I mean, like, there's lots of fantastic guitar players that sit this way. Like I said, I'm not saying that that this way is wrong. I just feel that this way is better. Now, another thing is how you hold your guitar pick. Now, guitar picks come in all different, shapes and sizes and stuff. Personally, I use these small jazz picks, jazz size picks. These ones are made for me by Sinister Guitar Picks. If you've never checked them out, I recommend it. These picks are awesome, and anyhow, they got my name on them and stuff. Pretty cool. Anyway, the reason I like to use these smaller size picks like this is because I have small hands. When you hold the pick, you don't want the point of the pick coming off, out this way, so you're having to bend your wrist in like this to be able to play. You want to have it so the point of the pick is coming off from the side of your thumb at a 90-degree angle like that. And then you only want just enough of the pick protruding that when you play, that your skin isn't hitting isn't hitting the string, but just the pick. If you have it out too far like this, it puts your hand farther away from the strings, and you're not going to have as much control. If you think about a guitar pick as being like a pencil, when you hold a pencil to write, you don't hold it way far back and hold it out like this and try to sign your name. You choke up on it really close. So it's the same thing with the pick. So you want to choke up on it like that. Okay, so then the next thing is how you put your right arm on the guitar. You don't want to have your arm out like this, with the guitar pick, like we said, coming straight off the end of your thumb, and you're all turned like this. Very awkward, and you're not going to have as much control and preciseness. So on this guitar here, guitars like Ibanez RGs, Jackson, Fender Stratocaster, most of these double cutaway guitars like this, the top isn't flat and it's actually beveled right here. It's actually got a curve to it. So that curve part there, if you put your forearm right, I'm not sure if you can see that really good, but you want to rest your forearm on that part of the guitar. All right, so if you rest your arm on that curved part of the body, and then you want the guitar pick, so with your arm straight, it's just past the first string. So you may have to, depending upon how long your arm is, you may have to move your arm back and forth like this to find that spot. So you want it to be just past that first string. And then when you go to play other strings, you want to do more in your wrist. You don't want really like this big motion with your elbow as much as your elbow, it's not like it's going to be locked, but you don't want, like when you're strumming, you don't want, your whole arm moving like this. It's better if you have it more just in your wrist. So if you just get past that first string, and then you can reach up with your wrist to be able to strum across all of the strings. Like that. So when you're first starting out, these are important things to remember. So when you go to practice, you sit down, you get the guitar so you got it in the right spot. You make sure, okay, I'm holding the pick right. I got my arm resting here. I'm just past the first string. Now you wouldn't want to sit there and constantly be thinking about this, but at first you do, and then it'll just become muscle memory. When you pick up the guitar, your arm will automatically go into the right spot. So you kind of want to give yourself a little mental checklist when you're starting out to do this. Now, for your, one other thing. When you're holding the pick too, I just hold the pick with my thumb and my first finger. So here, I've got it, I'm choked up, so I've just got enough of the pick protruding. And then my other fingers, I just kind of fan them out. Now, a lot of people like make a fist and stuff when they play. Again, this is just my opinion, but what I like to fan my fingers out, I rest them on the body of the guitar. So that way, if I'm playing something and I want to be palm muting, I've got my, the palm of my hand resting. If you don't know how to palm mute, we're not going to really get into that right now. I did some other videos that explain how to do palm muting. They're on the channel. So anyhow, I've got my palm resting here, and I've got these fingers just resting on the body of the guitar here. So, and then if I don't want to palm mute, all I have to do is just straighten these fingers out, and it's going to slightly lift the palm of my hand up. So that way, I have this more control. I've got my hand steady, and that way I'm not moving around. That's one of the things you want to try to avoid, is having it so your hand is just moving all over the place this way. If you get your arm, set on that bevel, you're just past the first string. Rest these other fingers on the body of the guitar, and this works with the acoustic guitar as well. Although when you're playing the acoustic, you don't have that beveled edge. But generally, the crook of your arm right here, your elbow, you can actually just hang that on the edge of the body of the guitar, and it's going to put your arm about in that same sweet spot that we were talking about. Okay, so now let's take a look at your left hand. Now, when you are if you're learning how to play guitar by watching instructional videos, one of the problems with watching videos and stuff instead of actually talking to a person is that the video is not going to be able to tell you, you know, hey, you know, move your hand just a little bit, you know, rotate your arm just a little bit, whatever. So I'm going to kind of explain how you can kind of check that stuff for yourself, because a lot of times we watch the video and we go, okay, well, that guy's arm is exactly like this. Well, if that guy's arm is longer than your arm is or shorter than your arm is, you know, there's all these different factors that where it's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be exactly the same. So with your left arm, when you're playing a chord, so like if we were just playing, all right, so let's just say that we're playing like an open, you know, just like a regular, you know, C chord. Just regular old C. When you go to put your fingers on to do that, a lot of times people have this tendency, they grab the, you know, they grab the neck like they're holding a baseball bat, and so they stick the palm of their hand right against the back of the neck. You don't want to do that. You don't want to stick your palm right against the back. You want to come around a little bit, you know, bend your wrist in like this and come around, and I'm kind of exaggerating this, you know, I mean, you're not going to literally be out like this, but you want to have your wrist bent. You don't want to have your arm just straight like this. The reason that you don't want to have your arm straight like that is that when you're going to play a lot of the chords, you need to be able to get this, you know, your fingers spread apart like that. Well, if you've got your wrists straight and then you got your fingers bent, you can't spread your fingers apart very well. But if you bend your wrist, then you can get the, you know, you get more of the movement. So when I play the C chord, you want to be on the tips of your fingers. You know, you want to be on the out here on the tip, not on the, you know, the fatty meaty part of your finger here, but more up on the tip. So I'm have my thumb like right on the back of the neck. Now, I'm not saying that you have to constantly only have your thumb on the back of your neck, but when you're first starting out, it's actually very beneficial to do this. So I put my thumb on the back of the neck, and I've got my fingers in, you know, where they need to be, and I got my wrist bent, so I'm kind of rolled out like this. So that way when I play, you get every note clear. If I've got my palm up like this, then you end up hitting, you know, you end up muting the strings. So you want to come around, and when you're first learning chords, you know, when you put your fingers on to play the chord, play each string individually, so as to be sure that that you're not muting any of the strings and that all of the tones are clear. Now, when you are playing like a bar chord, a lot of times where this is, you know, the thing people really complain, they're like, oh man, I can't do these bar chords. And so like let's look at, you know, like you know, just B minor, for example. Again, they'll try to stick, you know, if you stick the palm of your hand up and then you're trying to bar, you just can't get the leverage you need to do it. So I'm going to come around again. I've got my thumb around the back, and it gives me the ability to get all of my fingers into place where they need to be. Now, another chord that is the one that I've noticed that most people have problems with playing this chord. You know, beginner students I've seen, is F. So when you're playing F, and not the bar chord, but this voicing of F here. So, you know, you bar the first and second fret of the first and second string with your first finger, then the second fret of the third string with your second finger, and then the third fret of the fourth string with your third finger. Now, when you play this, if you've got your thumb up here and your palm up against it, you end up having these problems. So again, come around, and if you've got your elbow way out like this, you're gonna have problems too. So by having the guitar over on your left leg, like I talked about earlier, by moving your elbow, see how these fingers are rotating? You can find that sweet spot. If I'm over this way too much, if I'm over this way too much, I can do it, but it's also very uncomfortable. So you got to kind of find that sweet spot for yourself. When you're learning a chord, you know, like F or bar chords, or any chord for that matter that gives you, you know, that is giving you problems, when you find that spot, you know, by, you know, moving your arm around and you're, all right, that sounds good. I've got it now, you know. It sounds clear. That's what I want. So what you want to do then is just take your arm away and grab the chord again and practice trying to grab it in that same position. So you can kind of use, you know, little landmarks, like look and say, oh, well, my elbow is about, you know, yay close to the body of the guitar, you know, whatever you can, you know, you look at and think that, you know, can help you to kind of remember it. So that way when you grab it, you're grabbing it that way. Another thing with F is that when I'm barring across these first two strings, if I've got my finger completely straight like that, I'm having to beat my arm over here, and it's very awkward. So as I bring it around this way and it gets more comfortable, I end up where I'm actually kind of barring on the side of my finger, and that's okay, because as long as it sounds correct, that's the main thing that we're looking at. All right. You can play chords using your thumb, like D over F sharp, for example. You know, a chord that, you know, that's how you play it. Is you use your thumb to be able to fret a note on the 6th string. So when you're doing that, obviously you can't have your thumb on the back of the guitar. So a chord like D, seeing how you're only playing the first 4 strings, you can get away with having your thumb hanging over the top of the fretboard like this. So when you play this D chord, again, I'm up on the tips of my fingers. I don't have the palm of my hand right against the neck. I have it backed out a little bit. And then I can reach over with my thumb and pick up that 6th string. All right, I hope that you found these tips helpful, and that you know, hopefully it will resolve, you know, any problems that you may be having when you're trying to play certain chords or anything. When you're first starting out how to play, it can be really frustrating, because you're not only are you trying to, you know, learn, you know, memorize, oh, this is how I play a C chord, or this is the pentatonic scale or whatever, but you also have to remember, like, okay, how am I holding the pick? How do I got my arm? How am I holding the guitar? You know, how my left arm is. You got all these things that you're trying to do all at the same time, and so it's difficult, you know, to remember to do these things. So you just kind of got to make the little mental checklist for yourself, and you know, after a while, you know, after the first you know few weeks, these become just muscle memories, and it's just nothing to be able to grab these chords and or whatever it is that you're doing. You know, you'll just pick up the guitar and you'll be in the correct position. All right, so if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, and good luck and happy practice.